I found the management on staff of the restructure for the constitution. Because of the limited time available to speak out for this topic, I shall adopt a very simple question and answer format in dealing with my presentation. One, why should we restructure? We should restructure because the constitutional history of Nigeria shows that the only constitutions of the Federal Republic of Nigeria made by all the ethnic groups in Nigeria were the 1960 and 63 constitutions. In 1954, the Lillington Constitution made regional governments independent of the central government in respect of subjects and legislative powers allocated to them. It also established a unicameral legislature for the federal government and each of the three regional governments. Lagos was taken out of control of any regional government and made the Federal Capital Territory. Regional public services were established in each of the three regions. The judiciary was reorganized so as to establish regional judiciaries, while autonomy was granted to the southern Cameroons, which up to 1954 was part of a larger Nigeria and the northern Cameroons. For the first time, ministers were given specific portfolios. The Lillington Constitution thus became the transition instrument to Nigeria's independence in 1960, under a federal structure with democratically elected federal and regional legislatures. From July 25th to 26th of 1963, a national constitutional conference was held in Lagos. This conference led to the enactment of the 1963 Constitution. The Constitution replaced the position of Governor General appointed by the British monarch under the 1960 arrangement with the position of a president elected directly by members of the Nigerian Federal Legislature. In place of the Privy Council, the Federal Supreme Court became designated as the final appellate judicial authority over any person or matter in Nigeria. Between 1979 and 1999, Nigeria's democracy was overthrown in a military coup in January 1966. Between 1966 and October 1979, Nigeria was ruled by three military regimes. The last one under General Obasanjo bequeathed Nigeria with a presidential constitution which overthrew our parliamentary system of government. The Constitution was drafted by 49 members out of 50 members of the Constitution Drafting Committee. Their final draft was reviewed and amended by the Armed Forces Ruling Council that issued a decree enacting it into law. During Generals Babangida and Abacha's military administrations, there were some amendments to the Constitution which were not carried into a civilian democracy until General Abdulsalam Abubakar assumed office and appointed a Justice Nikki Toby committee, which after a tour of the country made a draft constitution, which is Supreme Military Council of 24 officers, chosen without recourse to geographical representation, amended as they pleased, and promulgated into law. That constitution is now the law that is in use in Nigeria. The 1999 Constitution is therefore adjudged by many legal experts as not autochthonous. This means that it is not derived from the people. It was not made by their elected representatives. It was not subjected to a plebiscite or referendum. In law, it is not cognizable as a legal constitutional document, yet it remains the ground norm, our source of binding authority as to how our country should be governed. The 1999 Constitution overthrew the sovereignty of regions over their natural resources and domestic security, unleashing in the process an unprecedented fall of educational standards, domestic security, and economic well-being. Under the 1960 Constitution, the three and subsequently four regions of Nigeria were viable and promoted sustained development in all sectors of the economy. In northern Nigeria, groundnut pyramids grew exponentially, cotton mills, tin, animal husbandry, and grains thrived. Ahmadu Bello University grew into a repeatable university, boasting of one of the best architectural faculties in Africa. In western Nigeria, cocoa production flourished and financed free education at all levels, leading to the establishment of University of Ife with internationally renowned pharmacy department. The first television station in Africa was established at Ibadan, and the first stadium in Africa in the same city, Ibadan. Import substitution industries grew, extending to Lagos, and increasingly became the industrial hub of West Africa. In eastern Nigeria, the first iron and steel complex in Black Africa was built in Enugu. The second cement factory in Kalago, the first glass factory in Emene, the second beer brewery in Umuahia, and 2 soft drink plants in Onitsha and Enugu. An American-oriented University of Nigeria grew, threatening the pioneer status of University College Ibadan, which is my alma mater, then a campus of University of London. Military rule and imposition of non-federal constitution changed all that. The unity system of government destroyed competition among regions. It led to a scramble for our collective resources and the foundation of unbridled corruption in government. Quota, as opposed to merit, became the primary consideration for appointment to public offices, to the extent that it was enshrined in our constitution. States and local governments, which did not reflect any demographic equality, were created and used as yardstick for representation in the legislature and the executive. Nigeria began to slide. The following examples will jolt you. Last year, the World Poverty Clerk described Nigeria, and I quote, Nigeria's population in extreme poverty has risen by 5.7 people per minute. And as the country with the most people living in extreme poverty in the world, at 82 million people living in extreme poverty, thereby overtaking India, which was previously the world's country with the most extreme poverty. Second example, Nigerian economy has grossly underperformed relative to her enormous resource endowment and her peer nations. It has the 6th largest reserves in the world, oil reserves in the world, gas reserves, sorry. It is endowed in commercial quantities with about 37 solid mineral types and has a population of over 170 million people. Yet economic performance has been rather weak and does not reflect these endowments compared with emerging Asian countries, notably Thailand, Malaysia, India, China, Indonesia, that were behind Nigeria in terms of GDP per capita in 1970. These countries have now transformed their economies and are not only miles ahead of Nigeria, but are also major players in the global economic arena. In 2017, a Japanese, Oshimaya an Indian, writing in worldatlas.com, ranked Nigeria as the world's greatest producers of cassava with 47.4 million tons, followed by Thailand with 30.2 million, and Indonesia with 23.9 million tons, and Brazil with 21.4 million. Cassava is the basis of a multitude of products, including food, flour, animal feed, ethanol, alcohol, starches, fossilizing paper and textile, sweeteners, prepared foods, and biodegradable products. In none of these exports is Nigeria a leading exporter. Instead, Nigeria is a huge importer of ethanol made out of cassava. Nigeria is the 2nd largest grower of tomatoes in Africa, coming after Egypt. Notwithstanding this, we are the highest importer of tomato puree in Africa. Nigeria is the 3rd largest grower of cattle in Africa and the largest grower in sub-Saharan Africa, with an estimated annual production of 19.8 million cattle. Cynthia Ebobo, writing in Business Day, July 6, 2019, reports that Nigeria spends 1.3 billion annually on importation of dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese. She quoted Bello Omar, Nigeria's then Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Agriculture, who at the 4th Global Dairy Conference of Africa in Abuja, said, and I quote, Nigeria produces 30% of dairy in West Africa and 0.01% of global dairy at the production capacity of 50,000 liters daily, less than 20% of local potential. Nigeria is also the world's 6th producer of crude oil in the world. In spite of this, NNPC reported that Nigeria consumes between 55 million and 60 million liters of petrol every day, and that the federal government is expected to spend 750.8 billion on petrol subsidy in 2020. In March 2019, Punch newspapers published that Nigeria spent 2.95 trillion to import petroleum motor spirit, also known as petrol in 2018. This was an increase of 50% from the previous year. Data from the Pipelines and Product Marketing Company, a subsidiary of NNPC, indicates fluctuating monthly consumptions. In January 2018, PMS import averaged 56.5 million liters per day. In February, it jumped to 8.4 million liters per day. In March, it stood at 66.8. In April, 70.7 million. May, 36.7 million. 34.5 million in June, 36.5 million liters per day in July, and 58.4 in August, and 59.8 in September. These fluctuations had nothing to do with changes in domestic demand. They were largely attributable to cross-border smuggling because of dishonesty, poor border security, and differential in price between Nigeria and other neighboring countries, making it difficult to sanitize our fuel supply and distribution metrics. This high cost of importation and high subsidy payments to make pump price affordable is a sad story of a country that, in spite of being the 6th largest producer of crude oil, cannot produce petrol at an affordable price, nor prevent subsidized and imported fuel from being smuggled into neighboring countries and sold at higher prices. Looking at our economy holistically, the following indicators between 2014 and 2018 tell our performance history. In terms of foreign capital investment, we dropped from $5 billion in 2014 to $2 billion in 2018. Unemployment grew from 6% to 23% between 2014 and 18. Inflation from 8 to 11%. GDP growth fell from 6 to 2%. Debt to GDP rose from 12% to 25% and now 35.1. Oil revenue to GDP grew from 7.6 in 2008 to 8.73 now. Debt service to revenue grew from 27% in 2004 to 60 in 2018 and 99 today. Bloomberg Economics African Performance Rank gave us a positive from 12th country to the 25th. World Bank Ease of Doing Business was the one we did well, from 147 to 14th. World Economic Forum Competitiveness from 127th country to 115. And Transparency International Corruption Perception Index, we fell from 136 to 144. The rest of the macro statistics you can educate yourself on in pages 10 and 11. And I move on to page 12. What general deductions can we make from here? External debt accumulation has seen federal government external debt grow from $10.7 billion in 2015 to $21 billion, up by $10.3 billion, 135% growth rate. Domestic debt has moved from $8.3 trillion in 2015 to $12.7 in 2008, a whooping 44% in 3 years. Cost of servicing of federal government debts have grown from 32.7% in 2015 to 61.5% in 2017. Our daily production of oil has moved from 2.8 million barrels per day in 2011 to 1.174 million barrels in 2020. America has discovered a new oil production technology called shale oil production, based on the liquefying of rocks and similar hydrocarbons. Similarly, energy production from solar and waste has improved exponentially over the past 2 years. China and OECD countries have also put a deadline of 2020 to 2024 for cessation of production of machines dependent on fossil oil. Right now, in Germany and China, demand for electric cars have surpassed demand for cars operated on fossil oil, that is to say, our crude oil. Bloomberg predicts that in the next 6 months, America's production of shale oil will increase to 12 million barrels per day if it survives the low demand occasioned by coronavirus crisis. It's also predicted last year that following the price war between Russia and Saudi Arabia, world oil price will fall to $30 per barrel. It actually fell following the COVID crisis, but has risen to $50 per barrel following the present winter season. In the face of this grim economic reality, the Population Reference Bureau predicts that Nigeria will in 2050 become the world's fourth largest population, with a population of 397 million coming after China, India, and the United States of America. This is only about 29 years away. Any other country in our situation would have declared a state of emergency long ago to plan for the day oil price will fall. Saudi Arabia, knowing this, is investing $110 billion to develop its estimated 200 trillion cubic feet of wet gas by 2036. When completed, it will provide $8.6 billion annual income and add $20 billion annually to its gross domestic product. This is apart from the production boost its economy will receive from an increased, cheaper, and more diverse source of energy. Right now, research has reached an advanced stage in the United States of America on a new all-solid hybrid solar base on inorganic metal halide called perovskite, which, using solar power technology, has the capacity of turning sunlight into energy and expanding the science of medical imaging in newer and more profound dimensions. The photoelectric power conversion efficiency of perovskite solar cells has increased from 3.8% in 2009 to 22.1% in 2006, making these solar cells the best potential candidate for the new generation of solar cells to replace traditional silicon solar cells in future. Light absorption and photoelectric conversion has become better, more efficient, and a threat to oil-based economy. Research is also advanced in the United States and Europe on 5G technological telecommunications, which will achieve an improved quality and speed of internet communication that will promote new models of self-driving cars, better movie downloads, improved road navigation, and a new medical diagnostic tool called the tricoder. The tricoder is like a telephone. If you exhale from your mouth into it, it will diagnose 43 possible diseases in your body instantaneously. Now, tricoder. Now, China is already developing 5G technology through its mega telecommunications company called Huawei. A new telephone battery called graphene batteries will be developed soon to replace lithium batteries. These graphene batteries will charge in 20 minutes instead of the average 90 minutes for conventional lithium batteries. It can stand 1,500 charge cycles instead of the 300 to 500 cycles of lithium batteries. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu recently informed the world of his country's new digital explorations. Apart from discovering the cure for cancer and the capacity to make life interminable, Israel can, by drone technology, determine the chemical deficiency of a plant in a farm without setting its foot on the farm. It can also cure deficiency by drone technology. The United States has developed this drone technology to the point where it's able to destroy an Iranian general in a foreign country without moving out of Washington. Now, UNICEF has told us that there are 12 million Nigerian children out of school. And this is possible because of the system of government that we have. We can restructure to revamp our agricultural potentialities. When I speak of restructuring, some of my northern Nigerian friends have suggested to me that I do not want the North to partake in the oil revenue of Nigeria. Well, I have just outlined the indisputable fact that oil is a fast-drying resource for earning of foreign exchange. The truth is that most reliable source of revenue now is agriculture. Netherlands is today the largest exporter of food in the world. Its cross-sectional area is about half the size of Niger State, and is the world's greatest exporter of potatoes. Its revenue from vegetables and dairy contribute more than 100 billion annually to its economy. The secret is education, better mechanized farming, and what have you. Northern Nigeria is Nigeria's greatest treasure of agriculture. It is blessed with diverse livestock production, capacity for dairy production, various tubers of tomatoes, yam, cassava, cocoyam. Poultry growth is rich, and its vegetable and fruit production in Nigeria's different weather conditions are outstanding and plentiful. In a restructured Nigeria, Northern Nigeria will earn more from food production than Netherlands. We must restructure because our current electoral system is dysfunctional. I watched with complete and utter disappointment social media films of underage children voting in the last local government elections in Kano last week. No reasonable government would tolerate this kind of brigandage. If we had stronger regional government, it would perhaps manage the situation better. Nigeria is the only country where you have to wait for sometimes up to 1 year to have an electoral dispute resolved in the courts. We have unwittingly dragged the credibility of law courts into disrepute so that journalists and lawyers alike cast aspersions on them. We must restructure to reduce insecurity in our country. While I was working on this speech on Monday, I paused to read the news for the day, and I saw the following headlines. Bandits kill octogenarian 14 in Zamfara, Kaduna attacks. Cops arrest police sergeant for robbery in Port Harcourt. Robbers kill 22-year-old IT prodigy in Lagos. Gunmen hack Catholic priest to death. Kidnap brother in Niger State. Bandits abduct 17 in Niger, all in one day. While several other crimes may have been unreported, the continued menace of Boko Haram in the northeast and consequent decapitation of our civilians and soldiers continues unabated. The influx of Fulani insurgents in northwest Nigeria and numerous kidnaps of leading personalities appear beyond redemption. Now, when do we restructure? We must do all we can to restructure before the next civilian election in 2023. Because the level of dissatisfaction in the country, as evidenced by the last EndSARS protest, gives one the impression that any delay may lead to a mass boycott or disruption of the next elections, to the point that we may have a more serious constitutional crisis of a nation without a government. Finally, how do we restructure? To restructure, Nigeria needs a constitutional conference of all ethnic groups in Nigeria. To use the current National Assembly as a forum for constitutional amendment grants a tacit recognition of the overthrow of our democratic norms by the enthronement of a military constitution by which they are composed. The outcome of the Constitutional Conference must be subjected to a public plebiscite in which all adult Nigerians have rights to vote. The process should be open. It should be supervised by international agencies to validate its transparency and therefore usher new elections based on its provisions and structure. This process, in my view, will ultimately refocus our country, breed a democratic culture that emphasizes more on selfless service rather than individual enrichment, promote genuine unity instead of ethnic bigotry, and challenge our capacity to exploit our abundant potentialities to make life more abundant for our people. I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you so much, Chief John Nwodo, for that very comprehensive, even perhaps historical look at the issues that restructuring bring to the fore when we discuss Nigeria.